Hi there, my name is Kristen Davis and I'm the host of LP Vision. LP Vision is the Learning Planet's Searchlight series, scanning the globe for innovative ways of using digital tools and technologies to create new education narratives. LP Vision's aim is to showcase projects in short videos and to create conversations around the way technology can help us take care of ourselves, each other, and our planet. In just a few minutes, we'll be showing some of the clips from our latest videos and introducing us to the experts we have for today's conversation, which is focused on environmental education. Let's start by understanding exactly what that is. Environmental education allows individuals to explore climate and ecological issues, to engage in problem solving, and to take action to improve our environment. It helps us foster a deeper understanding of pressing environmental challenges, and it equips us with the skills to make informed and responsible choices. In this episode, we ask, how can technology be at the service of environmental education? And we are joined by experts from the field of science, technology, and learning to explore this question. First, let me introduce Olivier Bréchard, the director of the Learning Planet Alliance, to tell us why we've decided to dedicate this episode of LP Vision to environmental education. Olivier.
Thank you, Kristen. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to have you all with us today. So that's great. At the Learning Planet Institute, we work in the field of education, research, innovation for very many years, since 2006. And we look at life sciences, learning sciences, digital sciences, and also social impact, and in all these dimensions, so that they can better serve sustainability and better futures. And so that's really the story of what we do. And with the Learning Planet Alliance, we created a network of very diverse partners working in the field of research, of social impact, of education, with the students also, with many people in the field of climate itself. And we're trying to do this better alliance so that we can collaborate. And we participate in very many meetings. And last year in September, at the UN General Assembly on transforming education, we really could tell that greening education, that the role of teachers and students and education towards better futures is really a very important way of reimagining learning. At the same time, the following week, still in New York, at the during the Climate Week and at the Global Futures Conference, everyone agreed that education is a key lever for preparing to all the transition and notably the environmental transitions. So we thought, with our curiosity, let's look around the world. Who are the players in the field of tech or ed tech that are really supporting environmental education? And in fact, we found very many ed tech programs, very many climate tech programs, and climate tech is growing and is being funded and supported. Ed tech is facing a challenging time with generative AI. We didn't find that many impressive solutions, at least yet, that are really tech supporting environmental education. And there are many MOOCs, there are many other ways of sharing content, of showcasing it, but really using tech at this best potential to support meaningful learning experiences. This is quite limited, and we thought, whoa, there's an area that we need to explore, and we are very happy to have you here because quite a few of you are already pioneering this field. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Olivier. As you said, we scanned the globe and we were surprised to find not so many projects that really are at this crossroads between climate tech, environmental tech, and ed tech. But we want to share with you three that caught our attention. Let's start by looking at a community-led project and watch a clip from our video from ClimateScience. Let's take a look at that video now.
I'm Mia, and I'm head of content at ClimateScience. So ClimateScience is a non-profit organisation, community and movement that believes that climate change shouldn't be so hard to understand. We're dedicated to making climate change education that is fun, reliable and accessible to everyone. While we do explain the science behind the problem of climate change, we like to focus on hope and solutions, inspiring people to take action and help solve climate change faster. So we utilize technology in two key ways. First of all, we take advantage of the accessibility that technology provides us. So climate science content is readily available online, free of charge and accessible to everyone in 17 different languages and counting. By integrating articles with interactive quizzes and fun visuals, we can create engaging online content that is actionable for all individuals from all backgrounds. Secondly, climate science has used technology to scale, and we've now become the world's largest climate education platform. Our end goal is to provide climate education and improve climate understanding on a global scale. And the best part of using technology in that is that all of our resources are just one click away on any device.
Thank you. And Mia, who you saw in that video, is with us on this call today here. Mia, hi. Would you like to introduce yourself and say hi?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mia. It is a pleasure to be here today with you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Mia. Now, Climate Science is a community-led project. Our next project is technology-led with an embedded K-12 education program. Let's watch a clip on the Smart Sea Levels Sensor project.
My name is Russell Clark, and I am a senior research scientist at the Georgia Institute of Technology. I work primarily on the coast of Georgia, in and around Savannah, on the Smart Sea Level Sensors project and the Coastal Equity and Resilience Hub. The Smart Sea Level project is a project based here in Savannah, Georgia, on the southeast coast of the United States. Our project responds to the reality that many coastal communities are experiencing increasing in flooding due to changing weather patterns and sea level rise. We are deploying a network of up to 100 low-cost water level monitoring stations and using that data to develop new modeling tools that inform flood mitigation strategies. An important aspect of this work is the diverse team, including local city and county officials, community partners, educators, as well as scientists and engineers like myself from Georgia Tech. Educating students on local coastal flooding and using local data is not only a great science and math exercise, but it also increases informed decision-making on adapting to climate change-related trends. One example of our work is the creation of curriculum for middle school students using the 5E model of instruction to actively investigate climate change and the phenomena of sea level rise. In this phenomena-based module, students are transported here to the Savannah-Tybee Island region to better understand how coastal flooding, tides, sea level rise, and climate change are impacting these communities. Through this experience, students will learn the foundational science behind these impacts, create data visualizations, and determine methods that they engage with to mitigate the effects of climate change.
Thank you. We have Russ Clark from Georgia with us as well. Russ, would you like to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Russ Clark here. Happy to be part of this program and very interested to hear about all of the other exciting members we have here today. It's very hot in Georgia this week, so we had to come inside for this session, but it's great to see everyone.
Well, it was great that you could record your video outside, and I hope you're cool inside. But we have someone with us who's also working on your project with you. That's Timothy Cohn, who's working alongside you, Russ. Timothy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning here in Savannah, Georgia. My name is Tim Cohn. I'm a program director here at Georgia Tech, working primarily on the K-12 side of this project and others with Dr. Russ Clark.
Well, good morning and good afternoon from you in Paris there to Georgia, Tim. Now, Smart Sea Level Sensor Project, as we saw, is a tech and science-led project with education embedded in. Our third project is the flip of this. It's an education-led project with technology embedded inside. Let's take a look at our third video clip.
Hello, I'm Eveliina Asikainen from Tampere University of Applied Sciences. I'm a teacher educator in our program of professional teacher education, and I'm also the leader of EduSTA, the Academy for Sustainable Future Educators project. Academy for Sustainable Future Educators is a Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies project, and Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies is a flagship project of teacher academies focusing on teacher education, making teacher education more European and also promoting European policies to teacher education. In our case, the policy would be the green transition. So our academy is promoting the teachers' sustainability competencies. Our academy consists of 5 teacher education universities around Europe, in Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, Czech Republic, and in Spain. And together we form a consortium of universities who are very interested and committed in transforming education towards more sustainable education altogether. Teacher sustainability competencies have been researched widely, but then gap remains with the actual work of teachers. What does a sustainability competence mean at the level of lesson planning, curriculum development, assessment? And we want to, in our project, operationalize competencies to this level. And in the assessment and in this work, we use digital open badges, which are digital visual badges containing the meta information on who has issued this, what were the criteria, and so on. They are a very important part of the European Union policy for lifelong learning, for giving people a chance to learn more and have their competencies and learnings demonstrated and transferred throughout Europe.
Eveliina, thank you for your video. You are here with us today with members of the 5 teaching education institutions that make up EduSTA and the Academy for Sustainable Future Educators. Eveliina, do you want to pop your mic on to introduce yourself, but to also introduce some of the people that you have here with you?
Yes, thank you for inviting me, Kristen, and it's a pleasure to be here. And so I'm coming in from Tampere, Finland, and we have here, as I noted before, we have Jaume Ahmed here from Girona, Spain, and we have Ellis from Hanze in the Netherlands, and we have also Barbora in Prague, Czech Republic. All our teacher educators. Unfortunately, our Swedish partner couldn't join today, but 4 of us are here today.
It's wonderful to have you all with us here, representing not only EduSTA, but also a big chunk of Europe and our planet here. Now, we set out to explore how technology can support environmental education, and our 3 project teams have we've just seen a little bit about that, but we're also joined now by some education and climate education experts and innovators that we want to talk to, also to have their perspective. So let's introduce them into the discussion. Sarah, you are the project manager of Teachers for the Planet program. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly and tell us where on this planet you're joining us from?
Thank you, Kristen. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to join you all. I'm joining you today from Zurich, Yeah, I'm the program manager for Teachers of the Planet, and that program brings together the LearningPlanet Institute, Teach for All, and the Aga Khan Foundation. And our remit is twofold. We are bringing teachers and educators together to inspire action through a community of practice. And we're also collecting solutions around climate change education. And the top 100 solutions, we're putting them together in a repository, and we're taking those to COP28 to show to policymakers.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to have you with us. Now let's go from Switzerland to Lebanon. And we have Ahmad al-Baghdadi with us, who is at Teach for Lebanon. Ahmad, would you please introduce yourself and say hi?
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for having me in here. It's a pleasure to be part of this. I'm a Teach for Lebanon alumni, and at the same time, I'm a creator of a program within the organization called Planet B. It's a climate education program that focuses on 3 pillars, which is teacher training, resource creation, and project-based learning in the schools. We've been working for the past year in creating the resources to provide them to teacher within the organization to be implemented in schools, and we're focusing on making climate education a part of our organization. So this is briefly about me, and we can discuss this later on more. Thank you.
Fantastic to have so many representatives from around the planet with us on this call, and to have a good mix of educators and scientists all focused on how we can create new education and learning narratives for environmental education. Now, before we go a little more into the conversation, let's learn a little bit about our 3 projects, and especially how they're using technology and what that brings to their work. Eveliina, I'm going to come to you first because EduSTA, it's an Erasmus Plus education-led project with the technology of digital open badges embedded into it. How does using these digital open badges add value to your environmental education program? Do you want to tell us a bit about that, please?
Yes, happily. The important thing is that our digital open badges are competence-based digital open badges. So we develop competence criteria, very tangible, practical competence criteria, for example, to teachers sustainability literacy, which is how to use materials and so on. And then when the teacher demonstrates his or her competence and gets the digital open badge, that's a transferable certificate anywhere, and it can be saved, and you can kind of add it to your portfolio in LinkedIn or whatever. And I think that is important in environmental education, because there are not so many programs, certificate programs, for example, in environmental education. And many teachers really don't know how good they are. And this is a possibility for them to get their competence acknowledged. And I think that is important. Then you can celebrate it, and you can be more confident on what you're doing.
Definitely, not just the accreditation and the recognition of this, but also what I think is very interesting and what you're doing with your project here in embedding technology is the transferability that these digital open badges offer teachers if they do want to move around within Europe. I see Timothy's head nodding there, maybe as a teacher. Yeah, if you want to move around, that you can take this accreditation with you. Thank you so much, Eveliina, for explaining to us about the value of digital open badges. Now, today it's very difficult to talk about technology without hearing the words ChatGPT, which is being used prevalently across work and education to create and synthesize texts. Mia, at ClimateScience, you're creating and synthesizing texts. Are you using ChatGPT to simplify scientific journals?
So short answer, we're not, no. As head of content and a content writer at ClimateScience, when ChatGPT came around, we were obviously very excited to see what this tool could do. But one of the things that ClimateScience holds really dear is our reliability. We were created by our founders as kind of a response to the fact that the solutions to climate change were hidden deep inside really complex papers, behind paywalls often. And the stuff that is accessible, so the media outputs, sometimes has a bias, it's not really reliable. So all of our content is sourced after every statement, every objective statement, and that goes through a quality assurance update every year as well. So it's always linked and the most up to date that it can be. And that's not something that these language tools are able to do. And in fact, if you ask them to do it, they often come up with sort of false results. So we don't use ChatGPT to write our content. Instead, we have a fantastic team of volunteer authors who are all science trained, who go through and make sure all of our content is factually correct while being engaging as well. That being said, though, there are some fantastic tools out there who help our content authors identify the research papers that are really useful when writing their pieces. So it's about learning where we can use AI to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Mia. And I think that was what caught our attention with your project, not just what you're doing in terms of making these very scientific texts accessible, but also understanding when is the right time to use technology and when is maybe there is a better or an alternative tool to be using. So thank you so much for explaining why you're not using ChatGPT at ClimateScience. Now, Russ, I'm going to come across to you. You're, as we said, a tech-led, scientific-led project with the education embedded into it there with your colleague, Timothy. What's been the impact of actually including an environmental education program and teachers like Timothy in your smart sea level sensors project?
Yeah, I'll start with the very early on. We were fortunate that through the connections that Tim has here in the community with the school systems, that we had teachers that came to us and volunteered to learn more about the project and ask how can we get our students involved. So we worked closely with them, learning from each other about exactly what it would mean to take a very technical, very sophisticated new technology from a research lab at a place like Georgia Tech and bring it to students in middle schools and high schools and have them engaged not just in using the data from it, which is certainly part of it, but really more in understanding how the technology works, helping to assemble, create, test, and deploy some of our monitoring technology. And that really you can't do better in terms of engaging in real world than that, right? And having the students understand that, this thing I am working on today is actually going to contribute to this larger science research effort related to climate. And to this day, when they drive around the community and they can drive over a bridge and they can look over the side and see there's this sensor that we helped build, and explain that to their families, explain that to others in the community about how important that is, and it just steamrolls into just a very effective way to share the work and to motivate people to want to learn more about it.
And you were just talking about the real world, the impact of being able to give students this real world data and to see the sensors there. Real world, how many students have yourself and Timothy now put through this program?
It's actually pretty hard to count. I'll start with right now we're leading a summer camp program where students are building sensors over several days from Arduino kits and learning basically why we do this. We go out in the field and we measure and we come back and we analyze what we learned about heat island effects and things like that. And so dozens of students through a program like that, a number of other students, probably close to 100 that have been involved from the high school, and actually the assembly work of some of those production sensors that get deployed in the field. And then the curriculum development that we touched on earlier, actually using the data from this work to understand impacts of sea level rise and climate change. That is hundreds of students at this point as well. So we touch them in a lot of different ways and on a lot of different scales. And an important part of it for us is working to bring educators in, other teachers who can then take this back and use it elsewhere.
Thank you, Russ. And actually now let's go to some teachers and those also building the education programs for environmental education. So Sarah, you are, as you introduced yourself, the Teachers for the Planet program lead. And you're scanning the globe also for projects out there focused on the environment. In your opinion, and from what you're seeing, do you believe that technology is being used to its full potential today to support teachers in environmental education and in the classrooms?
So I don't really need to tell the audience here, but I mean, preparing students for climate change education is a really difficult task. We're preparing them for a constantly changing subject, and really to engage with information in a critical way and form judgments rather than to provide them with specific facts, or facts that will remain constant over time. And that's a really, really difficult job. And I come from a teaching background. I'm lucky enough to talk to teachers all the time. And teachers have a really huge workload. And what I'm seeing when I talk to teachers is very isolated uses of technology in their daily workload. But generally, no, it's not being used. And it's so fantastic to see here an example of how technology can be used to improve capacity of teachers to teach in that way, or provide raw data, or to provide information sources. And I'm really so excited to hear that some teachers are getting involved directly with these projects. And I hope we see more of that. But yeah, at the moment, it's not being utilised to its full. And I hope that it really improves teachers' workload if they can access this. And that leads to better education, climate change education, and then the kids getting a better experience and being able to make those judgments in a much more systematic way.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to turn now to Ahmad and Teach for Lebanon with a similar question. Actually, from what you're seeing, you're focused on building environmental education programs. Do you believe that technology is being used at the right level, or can it be used? Should it be used in more cases and more prevalently, Ahmad?
Well, to be honest, a short answer for this question is no. It's not been used to its fullest. First of all, maybe because I come from an engineering background, I have a master's degree in sustainable energy systems. So this is what drove me to use more of a technology-based approach in my program. But I don't really see it happen often in the education sector. And when it comes to environmental education, I don't see it used very often as well. I think that people are trying to find solution using technologies to the issue of climate change. But I believe we reached a point where people started acknowledging the importance of education in solving the problem of climate change itself. So I believe that we should implement technology in the classrooms, and especially when it comes to the topics of climate education. I'm going to give you a small example in which we do use small prototypes, renewable energy prototypes in the classroom to show students about what renewable energy sources are, how they function. And we also related to circular economy, in which we used recyclable material to create toys and implement or put those prototypes on the toys to make them go like small cars So it's a really fun thing for students to learn. It's STEM based, it's innovative, and it's technology based. And you'll see that students will be more encouraged to learn more about these kind of things. So I believe we have a long way to go when it comes to this. I think we can do even more when it comes to implementing technology in the classrooms.
Ahmad, thanks so much for your perspective, but also for your example there. And in fact, I think what you were saying echoes what Olivier said at in his introduction, which is where we see very much focus and also investment being in climate tech, but not so much in the education around environmental education and how we use technology in that, which is very much why we're here today and we're talking about this. Timothy, can I come to you as a teacher who's been sort of embedded into this technical project? What has it meant for you bringing these real world data into the classroom?
Sure. So I, again, in kind of my unique perception and position, I get to work with a lot of different teachers and also have the opportunity to directly engage with students as well. What's been really kind of exciting for me about this particular project and other projects that we've seen as well is the willingness of the researchers on the project to say, yes, we want students, we want teachers to be engaged from the beginning. You know, that is very unique. We don't see that a lot. A lot of times what comes to us as educators is, look at this cool thing we did 5-10 years ago, or we did, you know, a couple years ago. Take a look at it. Here's the data, like Russ said, but don't touch it. Don't mess with it or anything. Let's not be engaged in the real-time effort. With this project, it's no, like, help us develop the technology, be engaged from day one, because we want the students to understand that, you know, the science side of this is ever changing. We're learning new things each and every day. And let's put that into the hands of the students and the teachers so that they have a better understanding of science in the real world, to be able to say, you know what, I was engaged on a new project where we're collecting data that's never been collected before. We're developing new sensor technology and new approaches, you know, more cost-efficient approaches that we've never seen before. You know, that really kind of creates a more equitable approach, I think, to how we do this environmental education. And it shifts the focus away from consumption to development. And that's a big transition for students. Is kids, and sometimes us as adults, we're really good at consuming technology. You know, give me something, I'll sit and watch it and I'll learn about it. But to have that mindset of saying, oh, I'm going to be on the, you know, the researcher side, the science side of this, to say, you know, let me think about what I think this data means, or let me, you know, provide some input and direction into where this project may go, has just had amazing impacts on the students that we work with, myself and the other teachers as well.
Fantastic. And I think, as you said, we're all learning about this. The scientists and the researchers, it's their job to learn. So being able to embed learners, children, or maybe even lifelong learners in these projects at that early phase, rather than being at the kind of completed consumer phase, I think just doubles down on the learning experiences and probably the learning capacity that's coming into these projects. It was one of the reasons that your project really stood out for us. Now, we've talked about some of the good things here, but let's be honest, there are also some challenges, both technical and non-technical, when we're creating new education narratives, especially with a topic as critical as environmental education. Let's spend some time looking at them now and sharing some of the experiences from our projects. Eveliina, the digital open badges that you talked about, this new form of certification and accreditation. It's transferable and it's based on the blockchain technologies. What have been some of the challenges of using such a new technology in your education program?
Well, we haven't yet actually used the technology, but we are doing the kind of the work on defining the criteria and all that kind of things. So I think our challenges so far have been more like conceptual challenges, how to define a competence, how to describe the criteria. And well, for example, the ideologies behind learning in different parts of Europe are even different. And about teachers' position and all that kind of things. And I can only assume that when it comes to the piloting phase, there might be some kind of technological problems on different kinds of platforms, or then we of course have to be careful with the personal data, which is part of this, so that it's stored safely and all that kind of things. But these are solved with our digital open badge factory. So there is already things have been developed, but I would say that there are both conceptual things and then there might be some technological things, which we have to face when we are piloting.
Certainly. And as you say, you're just at the beginning of this process. So at that conceptual phase, bringing together such a new idea and working out what that means for different people in different places. Now, I see that we've been joined in our call by Eric Guilyardi. Eric, hi, welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, Kristen.
Hi. You are at the Office for Climate Education. You're the president there. Can you tell us what is the role of the Office for Climate Education and your thoughts, and if you believe today that technology is being applied to really support climate education to its fullest potential?
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you very much for this invitation today, and thank you for the inspiring presentation earlier. I think these are amazing examples of the things we need to do. So the Office for Climate Education the vision is to provide capacity building for educators to equip the young generations with both a strong foundation on climate change understanding. This is an important science topic, but also together with the skills to act as citizens. So it's really that balance that we need to put together. So DOC does that by providing a portfolio intentionally to educators, a portfolio made of pedagogical resources based on IPCC reports, this strong science foundation. I myself am a climate scientist, and I was a lead author for the 5th assessment report of the IPCC. We have a strong link with the IPCC, so this funding role is really important. The second part of this portfolio is to do the professional development of teachers, so both initial and continuous. And the third one is networks of practice, because teachers can feel a bit alone in this endeavor. So this portfolio, those three aspects, also by themselves, if they cannot be good to scale if they are not integrated in educational systems and educational policy. So this is another mission that the OC, being under the auspices of UNESCO, is now carrying, is providing that expertise, that connective tissue, if you like, between the global IPCC and the local education systems. So that's really briefly what the OC does. On your question, Christine, about the role of technology, I think if we think about what we're trying to equip the youth with, there are several broad categories of competencies, if we think about these terms. First is the knowledge, and this is really important, and what Maya was describing about what ClimateScience does and other institutions is trying to bring this complex science the best way, and there are many, but so this is really important. Now, of course, there are a number of soft skills or life skills. There are many ways of describing them, and like understanding complexity, having a systemic view, and providing critical thinking as well, because there are many actors that provide kind of narrow views of what the issues should be. So having that broad perspective and connecting thinking in the SDGs in a way, the Sustainable Development Goals is so important. Also, something quite important is the projecting yourself positively in the future. We see a lot of youth with anxiety, and so how we deal with that as educators is really important. And that's also a challenge for educators. And finally, this is linked with global citizenship and education about global citizenship. How relates those as well. So you see all these skills, are important. And I think technology clearly can help to do the capacity building for teachers, I think what we have to ensure is that for the first type knowledge, we can have technological tools to help the teacher assist. For the other ones, I think the teacher remains the person that needs to assess those soft skills. An automated tool or technology, we have to do the research, and there have been exciting research being done. But I think at the end of the day, the teachers are the one. Now, of course, develop. I think all and we had good examples here. Technology can help as long as it's co-developed with teachers, people, practitioners on the terrain, and evaluating the impact. This is really important. And again, to make sure that we are doing quality climate change education that is helping the youth project themselves, positively, having both critical mind but also hopeful heart. This is so important. Now, teachers by themselves cannot really do much if they are not part of a whole system that is helping them to do this work. And so having whole school approach or communities, what Russ was describing about how it's so important to work with a number of actors in the community and the head of schools and all these people that need also to understand what the issues are. This is really important. And finally, as I was saying, the capacity building of educational system is key, because if the minister and if all the parts or the people in charge of education, varies a lot depending on the countries, is not convinced, and all the different layers in between the minister or the people in charge of education and the teacher, that's going to be really hard. They're going to be the happy few that have amazing teachers, but how we scale, which is really the challenge. So this is really, to me, tech can help define quality climate change education, some aspects. Maybe can help evaluate, assess, provide badges, these kind of things. But again, the technology should not be there to replace the teacher, but to empower the teacher. This is so important.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. Yes, in complete agreement, which is why we actually brought in Eveliina here as her way of ensuring that we have the quality in environmental education with those digital open badges that they're bringing in. But you mentioned at the beginning the tissue, the importance of the tissue being sort of knitted and formed between the teachers and the technologists and the the scientists out there. So I'm going to come back very quickly now to Russ and to Tim and to say, what are maybe some of the challenges that you overcame, and what advice would you share and experiences would you share with scientists that are looking to integrate with teachers and teachers that are looking to integrate with scientists? Tim, I'm going to come to you first. What is an experience that a message that you would maybe share to teachers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is having that willingness to open your classroom up for something you may not be comfortable with or be an expert in. A lot of teachers, and at least in my experience, sometimes we want to focus on the things that we're good at, the things that we know well, so that we can bring that to our students and feel like we're the expert in the room. Sometimes it's really hard to say, I don't know much about this, but we're going to go find the researchers and the experts that do know it very well, and I'm going to partner with them. And that's exactly what happened in this project is, we had educators that stepped forward that we were able to partner with that said, don't know much about this. This project sounds fascinating. Please let me give you some time in my class and let's figure out how to do this. And as a result of that, as Russ alluded to, we put the technology directly into the hands of the students where they actually developed it. They did all the benchmark testing on these sensors. They soldered everything. They put it in water and made sure it didn't leak. They tested our dashboard. They signed their names inside of the boxes. I mean, just amazing experiences on a kind of an individual basis for them. And it was because we were to step forward and say, I'm not comfortable with this information because I don't know much about it, but you clearly do. And so let's partner together and bring that experience to our students.
Thank you, Tim. And Russ, what would you say to scientists and researchers that maybe want to go outside of their comfort zone and bring teachers and educators into their research projects?
I'll start with saying, so every year I get to do this summer camp that I'm in the midst of now with middle school and high school students. And it's very humbling, reminding myself that I am no K-12 educator, right? On the other hand, it's super inspiring to see what the students are capable of and what they bring and the energy. My recipe for success in this has always been come with an open mind, be prepared to sort of come to the schools and meet with the teachers and do what they need. Ask them where they need help, right? They need mentors. They need judges for the science competition. There's so many ways that we as researchers, we as academic faculty can help them in their day-to-day and sort of build that relationship and build that trust. And then when they offer the chance to come meet with the students, recognize that, yes, they are constrained, that that class meets from 9:30 to 10:45, and that's, they can't schedule around your meetings. That's their academic schedule, right? And just this reality of understanding their constraints in the world that they work in, but then being prepared to just be blown away by what you're going to get out of it, and the quality and the value you're going to be able to bring back to your lab and to your teaching at the university, based on this new perspective.
Russ, that's a wonderful message to send out to researchers and scientists out there. I think we might take a clip of this and broadcast it as far as we can. But we're talking about some of the ways in which we can stimulate this, but also some of the challenges out there. So we've talked about what it is as a challenge for a teacher, as a researcher. I'm going to come to a young change maker. Mia, back to you at ClimateScience. You're a young organization with young founders. What have been some of the challenges that you've had to face and to overcome?
So for context, I am talking to you today from my London flat, but ClimateScience is entirely online. So I have the pleasure of working with people in Brazil, in Australia, in Argentina. And the way that we work allows us to be really efficient, launch loads of new projects, iterate, and everyone's really motivated, and there's nothing really stopping us from trying lots of new things. But when we are working with other partners, for example, education ministries, there is those processes in place that make adopting new technologies like ours a little bit more complex, and a bit more bureaucratic, and certain regulations that we have to align ourselves with in order to get that through. So we have to also come up with innovative solutions to try and tackle that. But also as a team, as you said, of young founders doing a startup, not for profit, a main challenge that we come across is accessing and engaging in sort of fundraising activities. So one of the ways that we kind of try to use this as an opportunity is to use stuff that's already in place. So we work entirely on Slack, which is fantastic. We have meetings, even casual sort of tea breaks over Zoom. And we sort of we use what we've already got to get what we can as quickly as possible and to make as much impact as we can.
Certainly, and in fact, like ClimateScience, many of the young change makers who are out there setting up organizations are setting them up as not-for-profits. That's the easiest way for them to do so. But it does mean that it can be a real struggle for them to raise funds and to seek and gain the investments needed for them to truly take their project to scale. This is what really interested us and caught our attention with ClimateScience, is the scale that you've managed to achieve in reaching 17 different languages for environmental education around the globe now on really a very lean startup and budget track. So bravo to all of you. We're coming into the final minutes of our hour now, and I want to turn back across to Olivier, who's been listening throughout this. And we said at the beginning of this episode, Olivier, that here at Learning Planet, we believe there are more ways to apply tech and to create new education narratives. And this is why we've dedicated this episode to the subject. Can you summarize what we've heard and tell us also how Learning Planet and its Alliance of Education Changemakers can help people like Russ, the scientists and the technologists that we have, the teachers and the innovators, all represented in this call, that want to put technology and digital tools at the service of environmental education? What have you heard in this episode, and how can the Alliance play a role in helping these people go further?
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much for all the contribution. I'm really excited. We finished with Mia, and I want to makes me think of another youth who's Melati. I often quote her. She created Youthtopia to train young people to become game changers. And when I asked her once a while ago about what do you think education should, how do you think it should change? She said it should be more nature inspired, because you can only protect what you know well. It should be more youth led and co-designing with youth. It should be based around projects. It should be solutions orientated and notably towards SDGs. And I think when I heard all the conversation we had here, all these ingredients are there. So now imagine that coasts around the world are being equipped with sensors, and that the pedagogies are co-designed with the youth and the teachers and spread it on platforms like Mia's platform, for instance, in ClimateScience, with the help of the Office of Climate Education, so that the governments, the ministries of education understand what is going on and facilitate and fund some of this program, and that we can showcase more and more of them with Teachers for the Planet and our networks of Teach for All, and that all of these teachers are getting badges, recognition, and the learners too. I think what Learning Planet is trying to do is that there's so many great innovation on the ground in different spaces. How do we build the platform, the spaces, the opportunities, the events, the meeting points, the storytelling, where we can see these kind of weaving together? And for me, this is an exciting first LP vision on how can tech support climate education. We'll definitely be looking for many other solutions, creating more conversations around this, bringing it in big events. But I just want to thank you. I'm really excited because I'm starting to see this vision happening. I saw sensors in many different other fields that could be linked to climate education or badges or things like this, but how do we bring them together? How we get the label, the credit, the support? So I'm going to stop there, but that's the spirit of what we're doing. We've got this network of actors all over the world. Maybe I finish this morning. We were talking about local learning ecosystems in adverse circumstances, notably with friendship in Bangladesh and Hunacan in the Charles region, which is one of the regions which is the most flooded by the melting of the Himalayas and the rise of oceans. And the teachers there are doing incredible work in a world where sometimes for a few weeks, there's no more ground under their feet. But and recently, they did interconnected school programs, and they are talking, the kids and the teachers there are talking with kids and teachers from Cambodia, but from Switzerland, from France, from Belgium, about also education, about climate change. And when we connect these, I mean, if you had sea sensors in Bangladesh and in Georgia and comparing these, I think that's a lot of things that the Learning Planet initiative could start to develop. Thank you very much for your participation. And back to Kristen next to me.
Thank you, Olivier. And I think this is, as you said, this LP vision, what you've just in fact wrapped up for us there is in fact a vision of how all of these different actors can come together. It is possible, can work together, and can really use technology to help us all learn about climate and environmental ways, and the way in which Russ described how to bring that in the best and in the earliest way possible, as Timothy, thank you, Timothy, described, into the classroom. How to validate that the education level is correct, and to bring accreditation for it, as the Eveliina and EduSTA has described. And in fact, also for Sarah and Ahmad and everyone on the call, I want to thank you very much for sharing your insights with us and sharing this vision also of how technology can truly be put to the service of environmental education. So if you want to learn more about this subject, if you would like to watch the 3 videos of our projects, ClimateScience, Smart Sea Level Sensors, and EduSTA, you can find those on our LP Vision page. You can also find them and the full recording of this episode of LP Vision on the Learning Planet's YouTube channel. Now, you can join the Alliance also if you want to be a global education change maker. You can find the information on that on our website, where you will also find information on how to become a Learning Planet Youth Fellow. And our website, again, learningplanet.org. So thank you very much to everyone for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure and a fantastic episode of LP Vision. Thank you so much. Goodbye.